What's up, guys? The dating landscape is constantly changing, and 2023 is no different. The game has changed, and you don't want to be left behind. Right now, it's more difficult for a man in the dating scene than it ever has been. And I've noticed some trends over the last few years, not only from my own experience as a dating and sex coach and from my clients, but also from the data. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to share with you those trends and how I expect 2023 to look in terms of dating, and then actually what to do about it, how to capitalize on those trends itself. I'm Marcus Wolf, and each week I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and strategies to help you be the best version of yourself inside and outside the bedroom, so you can start getting the girls that you really desire and deserve. One trend I've noticed is that women are becoming much more entitled and selective when it comes to dating. And the reason is, back in the day, if a girl was gonna get hit on a lot, she'd have to go out every single night. And if she went out every single night of the week, I don't know how many times, she gets hit on like 20, 30 times. But right now, a girl can simply post up an Instagram picture or go on Tinder and just start a profile, and she will have like 1,000 matches in the day, hundreds of men hitting her up. And if you actually look at the studies into swiping behaviors of men and women, what they've found is that men, yes, they mostly are on Tinder or online dating apps for short-term casual relationships. But women, it's actually interesting. You might think that they're for something more serious or even the short-term casual relationships as well. But if you look at the surveys of girls, what they've actually found is majority of the reason that they're on online dating is for the validation boost, is for that perceived attraction of other men towards them. So with social media and online dating, women are getting more attention and validation than ever before. So it creates this illusion of choice, and it really makes it a lot more competitive for men out there. And that takes me to my next point. It is much more competitive for men right now. If, again, we look at the data of online dating, the ratio is getting more blown out of proportion than ever before. There's at least 3 times more men than women on Tinder. So what that means is while men are swiping away, they're going to get less matches just because of supply and demand. And so what happens is men become more aggressive with their swiping. They might lower their standards a little bit, swipe a little more. And what that means is that women, every time they swipe, they're getting a match. So they do the opposite. They start to become a lot more selective. And so it kind of perpetuates the problem. And so then you end up with these situations where men are swiping all day, can't find a match, and then women, every time they swipe, they're getting a match. So what that means is at the end of the day, the top 10% of guys are the ones that are getting the most matches. And it creates this paradox of choice. So now that women have all these options, they're less happy when they finally decide on someone. It's the same idea when you go to a restaurant. If there's a very limited amount of what you have to eat, maybe it's like a set course menu, you eat it and you're like, oh, amazing, that's fine. But maybe you choose something and your best friend has a steak, you're like, oh fuck, I should have had the steak. So the more choices there are, often the more unhappy we are with the choice we make in the end. The next trend is this less polarized genders. Essentially, men are becoming pussies. Testosterone levels are dropping about 1% every single year from the 80s. There's increased wokeness, the Me Too movement, men are getting shamed for their masculinity. These gender differences are trying to be reduced. And what it really means is it's hard for men to express their masculinity. It's hard for them to actually be men. And again, studies to back this up, men are fearful of hiring attractive women. They're scared to have these one-on-one conversations with them. Men are approaching less, they're showing women less interest in them. It's making it really hard to actually develop romantic sexual relationships. So what does this mean? Men are fucking less. There's more virgins than ever before. And if you look at the amount of men that haven't had sex in the last 12 months, that's on the rise too. And COVID, let's admit it, probably hasn't helped this. Everyone has shifted more to online dating. There's an increased level of stress and anxiety since COVID. And so once again, people are going out less. They're having less of these face-to-face interactions. So what do we do about this, right? There's a few choices. Number one, you can complain. Complain about the fucking things you can't change. Yes, it's really hard to be a man. It's really hard to date. It sucks this year. Look, you can all get together and circle jerk, find a community of like men going their own way and complain about that. It's definitely an option. And option 2 is maybe just doing what you've been doing last year. Maybe you watch a couple of YouTube videos, you go out every now and again, maybe you swipe a little bit on Tinder, but you're not really having the results that you want to have. Or option 3 is you just objectively look at the situation and make you a fucking bitch. Look at these trends and let's actually take advantage of them. I want all of you guys to have so many fucking DM slides by the end of this year that you're gonna start feeling like one of these hot over-entitled girls with this perfect face symmetry that only like FaceApp could provide. I want you to start having that success. So how are you gonna do this? Well, the first way is cold approach, because that is gonna be your superpower for this year and maybe a couple of years to come. With COVID, everyone just had this shift to online dating and no one's approaching anymore. So look, while every other guy is sitting in their mum's basement swiping around on Tinder, you can be the guy that actually goes out and approaches the girl. Women are going to be craving these in-person interactions that they feel like they haven't had for the longest time. Your perceived confidence is going to be out of this world because I guarantee you're going to be one of the only few guys that do it. So instead of being compared to her thousands of matches on Tinder, get compared to literally almost no one else, or maybe the one other guy that had the balls to actually go up and say hi to her. I'm talking about online dating. If you are one of those guys in the mum's basement, we can make this work, guys. Because as I said, the top 10% of guys, they're getting 60% of the women. So be the top 10%. It's that simple. So you can't get away. Look, when Tinder first came out, you get away with some shitty pics, some shitty texting, and meet up with girls. Could happen, but not anymore. You can't get away with that bullshit. You're gonna have to lift your game. Number one, go out and get a professional photo shoot and have good subcoms. Learn how to actually pose in a photo that can display confidence, some masculinity, some dominance. Number two is set a good profile, like set a good bio, sorry. You want something that's attractive, that's engaging, that's gonna actually draw the girl's attention in and say something about yourself. Number three is actually have good text game. Instead of just shooting in the dark blind, like don't be just sending messages and no, have a structure. Actually start understanding the principles behind it, understand what works, and start implementing that and learning as you go. And don't be one of these guys that just says, online dating isn't for me because I'm not good looking enough. That's a cop-out. Fix your SMV, go to the gym, develop a good body, get a haircut, dress nice, dress fashionable. There's ways you can actually improve your looks and appearance, so start doing them. Be more polarizing, masculine, and dominant. I can't express this enough. Why every other guy is being a nice guy simp with their little white knight armor on, like, hey, you okay? Be the fucking man. All the tips I'm telling you here is basically just don't be like every other fucking guy. So if you're the one that can actually express your sexuality, if you can walk up to her, hold that icon, tell her how fucking amazing she is, make the move, take her home. Once again, you're going to not be in the top 10%, you're gonna be in the top 1%. So start learning how to do that. We all have that masculine energy inside of us. I even have a video on YouTube here, how to be more dominant, that you could check out. The next point is a little bit more general, and it doesn't just apply to this year, but always just focus on your value and status. I feel like some people get a little bit lost and maybe it's all technique or it's all looks. And oftentimes we just forget, like, hey, continue to work on yourself holistically. So if your career, if you're not happy with it, work on it. If your social circle, you're not happy with it, then work on it. These are things that not should only be the focus of this year, but it should be the focus of your life. Like, always look to improve. My second last point here, guys, is set goals. And the reason I say this is I think a lot of men in the back of their head, they kind of have this idea of, yeah, I want a girlfriend, or yeah, I want to have multiple sexual partners, or I would just want to be good with women. But they're not very specific. They don't actually have their goal written down and thought about. And oftentimes the reason we don't set goals is because it sets parameters for failure, because it reminds us at the end of the year what we perhaps didn't achieve or what we didn't get to. So you need to kind of push through this resistance and just understand you not setting a goal is the biggest failure there is. So sit down and really think about it. What do you actually want to achieve in the long term? What do you want to achieve this year? And then break it up and start to make it your identity. Start thinking about the type of person you want to become, because there are layers to behavior change. It could be, outcomes or processes, but the thing that makes the biggest difference is your identity. When I first started game and I thought, okay, I want to get over AA. I want to start going up to girls and be able to do it even if I feel a little bit anxious. So instead of identifying as this guy that was super anxious and nervous and was trying to get over it, I simply just said, okay, I want to be the guy that does it anyway. I want to be the guy with enough confidence that if I feel a bit nervous, I don't give a fuck. That's who I want to become. And so I started seeing myself as that person and tried to prove that right every opportunity I could. So when I was out at the club, I was like, look, I'm the guy that can approach anyway. I am, that's who I am. And then I prove it to myself over and over. And so then that's who I became. By the end of that period, that immersion period that I kind of put myself through, it became easy. I'd go out, see a girl on the street, or I was at the club, and that's just who I was. It was no longer trying or pushing through or, having to go through all this. No, it was my identity. It's the type of guy I was. My last and most important point is get a mentor this year. Drop your ego, have the beginner mindset, and try to get as much feedback as possible. You are going to absolutely slice your learning curve if you can actually have someone that can guide you. The coaches here at Ultimate Man Project can give you the structure that you need, can give you the guidance, can give you the understanding of female psychology, word for word scripts, everything that you need to actually have the most success possible when it comes to dating this year. Because the truth is, I'll be honest, this year it's gonna suck for most men. But if you're in that top 10%, that top 1%, it's gonna be the best year of your fucking life. So if you do want that mentorship, if you don't want that support, that guidance, jump in the mastermind, join us. It's a 2-week free trial. You'll get access to all the coaches every week. Ask any question you want. We'll be there to help you out. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. Peace.